James back.
Oh, that's right. It's hump day. July 7th. Uncle Tim and I sit down and talk about courage. You know, being okay, even though you may not have control of the outcome. What? No, you're not seeing things. You're not hearing things. Yes, it's another episode in the same week, and it's fresh, hot off the press. So sit back, relax, and don't forget, you hold the key to your release. What's going on? These are the times. It's time for ELUMINATE. And on today's segment, my unc comes and hangs out, and we expound a little further off of vulnerability, and we get into communication and conversation, accountability, and feeling and taking responsibility for one's feeling. It's already been quite a Zoom, and I can't wait to share it with you guys. But remember, if you like the content that you see on my page, well, there's a way to always stay in the know. Just make sure you hit that subscribe button and also click on that bell so that you never miss any of the new content here on These Are the Times YouTube. I'm Erica Parrótt, and like I said, my uncle Tim Edmonds comes and hangs out today, and we have 3 things that we're going to definitely highlight and share with you when having a conversation. The bullet points that we definitely like to always make sure that we keep in mind before stepping into that conversation with our loved ones or with business people or co-workers, because, well, at the end of the day, the whole reason that we ask the question is in hopes of gaining understanding. And I know people, sometimes hearing a question being asked of you doesn't feel too comfortable. But I urge you, encourage you, stand in it, answer it, see how it feels. You never know what you might find. People can't learn anything without asking, and every question is not an argument. So here's to being open, and I hope everyone's having a fabulous hump day. And we're going to just roll that beautiful footage. Hey!
Okay. Hey, I like
What's
your hair.
up?
You know,
Thank you.
trying to go on Twitter and follow politics and trying to see what really happened in the world. And I can't get past people. Jane Chu shoving a banana in her hoo-hoo in the kitchen with a leg cocked up on the counter where she cooks.
Tim,
and then she
what are
licks
you
it and puts it back in the bowl. You know, what the fuck?
Okay, time out.
Why is that okay?
What
and
are
why
you
you think somebody want to see that shit? With your face in it. So if you were my neighbor, I'd be like, oh, you nasty bitch. Oh, don't bring no fruit bowls over here, bitch.
That's a good way to get out of potluck. That is a damn good way to get out of having to bring stuff to potluck. Put shit like that on your Twitter page. Okay.
I know.
Time out.
Uninvited for real.
Oh my God, I love it. How have you been?
Actually, pretty good. This week is pretty good. I'm actually sleeping a lot. I've been taking my Xanax early and really sleeping good. I have a meeting today with one of the ladies from the nonprofit where I volunteer. I'm on the board. I'm going to look over the website. She wants some input from me about who our target is and how we can reach more people, because the problem is it's hard to explain what you do is like people they need to see to get ahead. You know, it's hard for people to visualize that. So we've got some testimonials. Actually, I'm on the website. I forgot I'd even done that video. Doing pretty good. I feel like I'm making some progress. I'm getting some things done. Then at 3:00, I'm meeting with the girl who's a new social worker at the shelter about next steps. So I reached out to this organization called Operation Hope.
Uh-huh.
I emailed them last night too about partnering with our organization because there's need in Frederick. I mean, there are people who do financial counseling, but they're connected to banks and stuff. They're not programmed in their mind to help people who don't have any money.
Right. They've got a whole different programming.
I'm asking them if we can do Zooms or something, because the whole program we're trying to add on to the other programs we have is Next Steps, like where I am. I don't know. I didn't know anything about whether to get a secure credit card or not, because to me, that was all predatory stuff.
Right.
So what we're trying to get is somebody to come in who has that type of program for those people to work with us. So when somebody is trying to transition out of this, to really do concrete things that keep building, so it's just not a circle of in and out.
Very cool. So you've had a busy day. You've had a busy week, it sounds like.
No, that's what's coming up later.
Oh, that's
the only problem of it is I was gonna walk over there. I was like, that'd be a nice walk. It's 98. It's 80. It's 98 degrees. I'm not walking.
Yes. Listen, Linda. I went to do laundry.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Why, Jesus!" It was that my car said 86.
Well, it said it's 88, but it feels like 94. So
yeah, it's already in the 90s.
I was like, no, but it's not that far. It's a 5-minute Uber ride.
Very cool. Well, so.
Mm-hmm.
And
then Thursday we're getting storm, so then it'll be wet as shit.
I know. And this weekend we have to go to upstate New York for a show that I also just learned is outdoors. Oh, wait, it gets better. It's another one of the motherfucking rich rustic barns. Okay.
Hope it ain't on Friday.
It's on Saturday. No, it's on Saturday.
Okay.
It's not on the new moon. Stop.
No. I mean, because Friday is the day when the storm is actually supposed to hit New York.
I know.
So you'll probably still be getting rain Saturday.
Probably. And we're in a barn again. It rained last time we had a barn show.
Fuck that barn shit. Listen,
move
to Alabama if you want to live like that.
Listen, you ain't even living like that. You just had it there because it was pretty. But here's what's really fucked up. You gonna have it in a barn that I don't care how much money people put into their property. It's a barn. It's a barn. Okay? Like, it's never gonna be. It can only be what it can be. Okay? You can maintain the property around it. You can plant a shit ton of beautiful flowers that cost a shit ton of fucking money. But it's still a barn. And what you are paying just for the band.
Some nice ones that were done. But I have seen some nice ones that were done. But like you said, it's all the residual stuff. Putting down the fake astroturf so people aren't walking on dirt. Putting down boards so if it was wet, people aren't sinking into the mud.
Because none of that's going to happen.
Nobody can go outside and
None of that's going to happen. None of that's going to happen. Like, because the last barn we were at, you could tell they were so not ready. It was kind of like, rain? Who'da thunk it? It's an outside venue. You always prepare for that. Like, why is it even, that should be a dust and brush.
Yeah.
Dirt off my shoulder kind of moment.
Already.
These are things that you should plan for if you have an outside venue. But you really get to see what people don't think about. The things that should be obvious.
Need what?
Flooring, because it could be wet. You need all kinds of things because it's a barn. So I don't care how much money you put into it. It's only going to take you so far. There are so many other things that have to always be on hand and thought ahead of, because you may not be able to get it the day of. But
500
magically,
square feet of AstroTurf.
but magically, it seems like every time I'm at an event like this, I don't care if I'm a participant or if I'm going to, like, if I'm just been invited. It seems like rain pops up and they run around like, ah! I'm like, how are you this unprepared? You own an outside venue. Shouldn't you already be prepared for this?
Like I said, they don't have the core stuff. They don't have a whole football field of AstroTurf that they can lay down so that people can walk on top of the wet stuff and not get filthy, dress and everything.
Listen, the last.
That's people.
Exactly, that's people. Listen, I can't wait for Tony's next Zoom because I talked to him for a little bit this morning. He was irate. So he's a trucker. listen to this. He's a trucker. He dropped the truck off at the distributor's place for them to do a diagnostics test, right? And like calibrate the wheels and the speedometer. The girl hands him the key. The girl who hands him the key is a manager. Like, you can't get scheduled. You can't get nothing done without going through her, okay? He goes out to his truck. He said, it won't start. This is not my key. He takes it back in, and she said, what's wrong? He goes, this is not my key. She said, well, it's got your name on it. He goes, but this is not my key. Because he's like me and probably so many other Americans. When you drop your car off, you keep a copy of one. So he's like, this is what my key looks like. She goes, how do y'all know how do y'all be telling the difference in the keys? He said, I said, time out. You mean she's been holding keys her whole life? I mean, to even get into her own things and didn't know how to tell the difference between keys, and she's a manager?
Well, first of all, you don't tag them when they're handed to you. Because that's what we did at the dealership. We don't take your key. When you hand us your key, it gets tagged immediately with your name and what type of car it is, whatever.
And then they hand you the tag, like immediately. That all happens usually in front of. So how does the tag get? How is that not the key? So I told him, I was like, listen, bro, I'm doing laundry. I was like, you got to save the remainder of this story for our Zoom. I was like, I want to be surprised. I said, because I need to figure out. I said, I'm still stuck on, you're a manager and you just now was enlightened by Tony, thankfully, of how to tell the difference in keys. You've been using keys your whole life.
But see, this is my thing. As hard as I work trying to get jobs that paid me like 80 grand, right?
Yep.
How do people like that get those kinds of jobs and not know how to fucking put a key on so that they can identify it?
That I call that.
That's my shit. You know? I'm like,
that's that dumb shit. That's that shit, Tim. That's that shit right there. I can't. I'm just like, I was mind blown. Like, he's telling me that. I'm like, what the what? People.
I'm just still disconcerted and upset about Jenny Lou and her banana shit. Dude.
Again, that is a great way to get out of having to bring stuff to potlucks.
But don't these people think that at some point, because she's young, it's like, you're going to have kids, you're going to have grandkids, you're going to be people that you work with. The world is a very small place.
Yes.
And if it popped up when I was scrolling and I don't even know you because somebody else retweeted it, that means there's like at least 30,000 other people saw you lick that hoo-hoo banana.
Oh my God.
And put it back in the bowl.
That's horrible. Like,
thanks. No, I can't. I'm done. It ain't for everybody. Technology should not just be given out randomly, just like people should randomly have kids. No.
Oh my God. You should have. Thank you, Jesus. I knew I wasn't the only one. I said this the other day. I was helping somebody with their phone. And it sucks because technology, they give you this shit that they don't even fucking know how to use. Most of it. Like the real top dogs of the companies know how to use it. But the peons they hired, they don't even really know how to use it. But they want you to sell it. And then like they have these stores that they want to collect massive amounts of money from you with all these other new shiny newer phones that just came out. But don't nobody in there know how to work on a God blessed thing. They want you to turn around and call 611. 611 don't even know how to fix it.
They don't want to. And here's why. And I'm going to tell you why. In all the years in retail, this is what I found out. America operates at about a 5th grade level.
Boom.
So when they create these training videos and things for new people, they're at a 5th grade level. And if all you get is that, you don't know a damn thing. You still have to have a person who's experienced it, who's done it, who can tell you all those extra little things that you didn't know. So I had to write a paper yesterday for school about an instance where I had to be a leader and a follower. So when I was at the dealership, I was hired basically as a car tech guru. All the infotainment stuff I had to know for every car, and I demonstrated it to every new car customer. There were things that were in my training, but part of the first thing it said was that I was the backup because this was to be demonstrating these things while they were on the test drive. None of them ever did, which left it all up to me. So I'm also the voice that when people have problems, they call me. And I didn't mind that part because I like the customer interaction. I like to be helpful. But I had this huge fight with the dealership to try to get them to understand the value. And this training was in all the salesman training they had to pass to be a salesperson, okay, from GM. So they just scooted through it and didn't do it. The point was they didn't want to do it because they thought I was there and that was great because that was less stuff for them to do. So at one point, they kept ordering radios. They said, there's something wrong with these cars and in the new infotainment systems where they're just shutting off black screen. You can't get it up. And I'm like talking to the sales manager who had worked for 40 years as not a sales manager, the service manager. He's been doing this for 40 years. Part of my thing is I read through all the bulletins to try to figure out things. So when a customer asks me a question, I know, or so a customer asks me a question, I start going through all these bulletins trying to find an answer. I found this 1-page memo that says, may have to reset the infotainment system. And how you set it is, everything is connected to the door. So say you bought a new car, and I showed you everything and you went home, but on Saturday you washed your car. And you put your key in the alt position and left both doors open because you were drying them and everything. Well, what's that, 20, 30 minutes? If you don't pull your key out before you shut the driver door, you shut your system down because it didn't complete the restart scenario. So, but now they've put like $1,500, $1,200 systems in new cars and ordered them that they didn't have to and sent them back to the factory. And I'm sure the factory was like, they're stupid.
All because the key is connected to the door and those intelligent keys and expensive cars. And it's a computer. It's a computer that has to shut down. And
it's all connected to the driver door because the driver, of course, has control of the systems in the car.
But time out. Can we point out what you said happened? You read something that they give everyone there in that position to read. And you learned what the problem was and how to fix it, correct?
The sales manager, he gets the service managers, they get the same bulletin. And I was actually in their portal. I wasn't in my stuff. I was in their portal looking for answers.
That makes it even better.
And I found it.
That makes it even better. It wasn't even where you should have been.
So now I gotta get him trained to do it, And then so I trained him how to do it. We trained every guy in the service department how to do it. So, and I had been there almost a year. So this is one of the reasons that their scores were around 34, because if you bought a new car and you took it home next week and your radio busted, you were not happy. Right. And you're even less happy if you call and nobody can tell you why it's doing it or fix it. Because in the back of your head, it should be a simple fix. Took 5 minutes. If that door's open 5 minutes, you take the key out, shut the door, start the car, it resets everything, your XM radio, all that. So it was at that point, 2 weeks later, do you know what the general manager had nerve to say to me? I don't know why we pay you so much. You're making all kinds of money.
What?
Yes. And this is the same dealership that 3 years in, after keeping the scores above 94 for 3 years, saving them from having Chevy take their name off the dealership, they eliminated my position when they no longer had to have it.
Oh, wow. But see, that's
So
what big court does.
That's why you have dumb shits that take cars in for service and been doing it for years and are a manager and don't realize the basic operating procedures of being proactive. Take the key, log the key, give the person their ticket, put everything you need on there, and hang it up.
But
or
watch
put it
this.
in the slate.
You know why your position got eliminated? Because the GM realized if his salespeople would do their freaking job and read what they put out for them, they wouldn't need you.
No. They eliminated my position because I got them out of the probation period they were in.
And they no longer needed
Chevrolet. Chevrolet was like, you guys suck. You have people that buy cars 50 miles away from you that live in your neighborhood. And if this is how, and if you're not satisfying our customers, you're hurting their name, and we're going to take our name off the building.
Well, I can understand why. All they needed to do was read. Dumb. You know.
So GM made them create my position. And that's why it took me a year to get along with them, because nobody wanted me at the dealership. The GM, he said, every time you talk to me, it's a couple $1,000s. Well, they keep fucking up. You know, tell your guys not to ding somebody's door when they're delivering the car. It's less, we don't have to go back and fix it. Tell the guys that when it snows, there's ice, not to push the ice off the top of those 9 Camaros and scratch the paint. And I have to have the whole car repainted because nobody wants to pay $90,000 for a car with scratches on it. None of this is my fault. This you run these people.
like get your people in check. You know what? This has been the theme. I swear this has been the tone of like conversations around the board, personal, work, people, and not actually reading, not comprehending, not just lollygagging their damn way through. Just it'll work it. No, it's not gonna work itself out.
But it's poor management from the top down, because the owner's wife came in and had her new soon-to-be daughter-in-law I was training her. She sat beside me all day. And they ended up giving her like half my business because I was doing aftermarket. Nobody knew how to do aftermarket at the dealership when I started. So I was making like $5,600 a month with my commissions. So they gave half of that to her in 1 month. They just gave it, no. And it wasn't her fault. She and I are still cool.
Right.
But, you know, her mother and the soon-to-be mother-in-law was like, what does he do sitting over there all day? And Al was like, oh, you know, he talks to these people. He loves them. They're so nice. He gives them everything. He gives the kids teddy bears when they buy the car. Yeah, I promote you. I try to make you fucking look good because you suck right now. So they went to dinner that night, and she told me the next day, she said, no, I was explaining to her how you handle all these things all day and how you really try to make people feel good about it. Even though there was this mistake made, you're going to take care of it, and how you gives the dealership a really good survey and that they really feel they were treated fine. I was like, why couldn't he do that? He didn't want to do it because he didn't want me there.
Mm-hmm.
But after about a year,
it's easier to only tell part of the story instead of telling the full picture of why you do what you do.
Yeah, because he didn't want to answer the question of why are salespeople not delivering the cars properly? Why don't they know how to answer the questions when they're on the test drive properly? Which was his fault.
Right? Lord. Well, so what do we want to dish about today? We wrapped up with, what did we finish with last time? Look, it's been a while. It was just last week, Tim.
Finished up emotional.
That's right, because we wrapped emotional guilting into what was it, vulnerability? Is that what it was?
Yes.
Being vulnerable and open. Okay, so in being vulnerable and open.
Well, actually, kind of continuing. Well, adding on to vulnerability.
Okay.
I think we should talk about, because I watch Brene Brown's talk that I watch every once in a while. And there are a lot of things that we talk about that I really take to heart, and it really makes sense. And one of the things is, who are the people in your circle?
Let's say that again.
Who are the people in your circle? Who are the people that you connect with most of the time? Who do you spend your time with? Okay. And what comes out of that? What are you contributing to them, and what are they contributing to you in the relationship, in the friendship?
Okay.
Because if you don't have friends that are trying to grow, they end up pulling you back, because they're always going to be saying, oh, that's never going to happen. Girl, you know how hard that is. But at a certain point, they're not going to be able to be your core, because, like you said, you're going to outgrow them.
Well, and not only that, it's kind of like being in a relationship, two addicts. One's got to be the constant of not, or you're always going to be put rubber band back. So no matter what this one is doing, you've got to still be constant. Because I've noticed even in like the big thing with friends, my favorite one is, oh, you got to relax and unwind. Well, it might be your relax and unwind time. That's not what my time is right now. And that's always hard, I know, for people, because they'll feel like, well, I've worked so much, I should go out, or I should go do this. But they know that they need to be finishing what they should be doing. Like, it's not time to cut loose just yet. So, it's a lot of it comes down to willpower too, even when you have a good core of friends, because timing is everything, and no two friends are going to be on the same time wave, like with work and things like that. So, yeah. And I'm so glad you went here. I am. But go ahead and finish what you were saying about what Brene Brown?
Brene Brown.
Okay.
Her last book, I think, was about courage, and I love it. Because she speaks about being brave, and it does take a lot of courage to be brave. And then and it's funny because yesterday I watched this comedy thing, this Chappelle, that's part of a Dave Chappelle stand-up, where he tells people, but he starts to joke with all these LGBT people in a car, and I have to send it to you. It's hilarious.
Is it the one you sent me the other day?
But it's basically about how people get offended. Yesterday, yeah. I think I did send it to you yesterday.
Listen, I love Chappelle.
But it's about people being offended. People are offended at this person, that person. People don't like, and it's not that they don't really hate this person. They don't want to take the time to allow that person's existence to be okay with them.
Oh, say that again.
They don't hate gay people. They don't want to understand and allow them their existence, except the same circle of beliefs that they are. And that people are so against these types of people is it requires them to set aside their belief system in order to allow another person to exist in their own space.
That is very profound, because just because your beliefs in your space are yours doesn't inhibit or take away from mine in my space. But people can't get past that for some reason.
Yes, the emotional imbalance in people right now is you're either with me or against me, and life is not about that. Life has never been about that.
No.
And just because I allow you to be who you are doesn't mean that until I have to deal with a child, a loved one, someone else who is in that predicament. Now, generally what happens is because people are connected to that person, it's like being that person's one black friend. And they say, well, you're not like all the other black people. Well, black. Yeah, I may not be to you, but we're all black and you sit us on the bus. So stop it. I hate when people tell me that. It's just insulting. It's like, yes, I am. I'm just like all the other black people. Because white people that don't know me, like you know me, treat me the same way they treat them. The police do and everybody else.
Yeah.
Yes, I am. I'm just like all the other black people. I may think differently. I may have a little bit different background, but there are black people that have much more education and a much higher level of where they came from than I am. You just don't know.
Exactly. You're so right,
you
though.
Know.
You're so right. That's always my favorite one.
But when Dave Chappelle started the comedy thing, the funniest thing he did, he was like, it was in Atlanta when he taped. So he's like, Atlanta, thank you. It's a great place. And he said, I always get in trouble. I tell these jokes about, gay people and they get mad. I tell folks about this people, they get mad. He's saying trans people get mad. And he said, but the shit is funny to me. And
Me too.
He said, so he says, as he's naming off the L's and the different letters that are in the car, people start clapping. So he said, well, when we get to your letter, clap. He said, but, you don't have to, because I know a lot of y'all here with your wives. And I about fell in the floor. Because I was like, no, he did not go there. He did. He did not go there. That half of y'all in the audience is laughing. Sitting with your wives and you got their panties on. I was done. I was like, okay, Dave. I was crying.
Listen, I got in trouble for putting a meme up last year. It said, nowadays you can't. How to say nowadays you can't just taste that stick. You got to flip them over. To see where they been. It's 2020. Yeah, I got in trouble.
Well, if your husband can fart and you didn't hear it, you may want to ask him some questions.
I'm done. Anyway, stop it right now. Every week you do this to me. Oh my God. Okay, so allowing space and grace for others to be who and what they are.
Right. Because last week I had to catch myself when I looked at you and I was like, no, I can't tell this story. I was like, when people don't think about consequences, like who told you that you could put 3 stones up your butt with no thought of how to get them out, playing around, and it would be okay, and it would be somebody else's problem to help you? What were you thinking? You're doing too much, America. You're doing too much.
Listen, who would think that you would have to tell someone not to put Gorilla Glue on the head in place of hairspray?
Oh my God. Yeah. America, you're doing too much. You're trying way too hard. And you're trying to cut corners on stuff, and it doesn't work that way. You can't go to surgery, and the doctor's like, well, where's my scalpel? Well, you know what? Hey, I got a buck knife, but maybe that'll work,
Oh, they wouldn't like that. They would not like that at all.
No.
But they treat their
Why
own
was my store so big? Well, all I had was a buck knife, so, I had to do what I could.
And it was a little dull. But you know what? Those same Americans.
I don't know what you're eating, but you need to eat some vitamin E because your skin is tough.
Right now, I'm done. Listen, but you do realize America's doing too much in cutting corners, but at the same time, they expect no one to cut corners with them. Have you met individuals like that?
Exactly. Oh,
So
all the time.
how does one begin to fix that problem, Tim? Like, how do you even begin to fix that problem?
You just have to call them out. You have to just call them out in public, and because what they're trying to do is make you responsible for their lack of understanding and their ineptitude at managing their own affairs. And you just give it back to them. How is this? In the average transaction, you're waiting on this lady just to get a receipt, and you're huffing and puffing, and then you go take all your stuff to another line because you couldn't wait 3 seconds. Don't scowl at me. That is your problem. Because first of all, you shouldn't have come shopping. Budget your time wise. Know where you're going and how long it takes to do what you need to do. I don't feel bad for you. Because plus, by the time you walk over there, I'm done. You just got out of the way of the next person. Makes no sense at all.
Yep.
People don't want to take responsibility for their feelings.
Oh, ding, 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 ding. It's everybody else's job to walk around my feelings. No, it is not. People. It's not even American people. It is no one's job to tiptoe around your feelings. No one's job. You gotta take those feelings and you gotta make them like a square and find a pocket, put them in it, because no one is worrying about your feelings throughout the day except for you. So put them in a pocket where it's close to you, where you can deal with that shit throughout the day as they come up. Because ain't nobody else gonna manage them the way that you are supposed to, or care about your feelings
they're
the
yours.
way that they're yours.
And the people you're throwing this mess talking about, or why you're even behaving that way.
Now say that again. You kind of cut out.
The people that generally that you're spewing all this stuff that you're working on, that you should be working on at, they have no idea generally where it's even what's going on. They are like, where did that come from?
You're right. You're right. That's like, I mean, I had a moment the other day. I blew up about something that was literally like boom. But in that moment, it wasn't boom because it was like the 17th interruption. And then like, what should have been a little between me and that individual was like, ah! And it was like, where the hell did that come from? Like, you ain't even understanding what happened for the last 72 hours before you got here. Like, what I have been trying to do and keep getting interrupted. So, yeah, and I immediately pulled it back and was like, that was my bad. You got it all. Like, my bad. Like, sorry.
Right. Right.
Little Dragon
and that's
Ball
what we're supposed to do. That's what we're supposed to do.
Yeah.
We're supposed to be like, you know what? I need to put all this back, as much of this I can, back in the bottle. I'm sorry. None of that had anything to do with you. It was a story. And this is what Brene Brown said. She says, when that happens, it's a story you're telling yourself. Because you have all these maybes. Oh, they must be thinking this about me. They must think this. Oh, if this happens, they're going to feel that way. None of that is a fact. One thing I used to tell my grandmother, because she would think about people. And she would say, I bet that they did so and so and so and so. But then she would treat them like they did it. And I'd be like, you can't do that.
Like, you didn't convince yourself you got this whole story.
You don't know what happened.
Yeah, exactly.
Leave it there. Leave it there. You can't be all over them on what you thought they might have done, even based on past behavior. In this instance, you just have to let that be. And you if you find out they did it, then say so. But you can't be mad because you thought somebody might have done something a certain way.
Right? Because if you were not there for all of it, you can't even begin to understand it, to let alone even try to be mad about it. So wish it well, because it ain't yours. You're here
and you also haven't had a conversation with them. you haven't even said what
Did
was
you?
going on when you said this and this and this, because I felt offended by it or whatever. Can you explain it to me? You didn't even do that. You were just like, I don't want to talk to you today. I'm mad. Okay.
Oh my God, I love it. You said the magic word. They didn't have a conversation with the one person who could have gave them insight on them feelings or intentions or whatever.
Yeah.
They were here making up stories to themselves. I always tell people, I'm like,
but you could.
No, go ahead.
But we do. We create, and it's just part of trying to be ready, trying to be prepared, especially for a tough conversation. You think of all the possible things that may be said. You're trying to be ready, you're trying to be prepared, but none of it's fact. It's all fiction in your head. And if the two of you get together and you don't get an emotion or a response that is very clear, you start bringing all those stories up and you're not reacting in the moment. You're reacting to your version of a maybe.
Of the moment. And I'm so glad you went there because that's where I was getting ready to expound on. So you helped me not get ahead of the class. So I'm glad you brought that point up. I always tell people, before you have to have a big conversation, don't even think about it. Because if you think about it, you're going to go so deep in thought that you're going to try to play out what they might say versus what okay, so if they say this, I'm going to do this. You've already set yourself up for failure, and here's why. You have no clue how their day started. You have no clue where they're at in their day. You have no clue if the birds flew high enough and the river was cold enough, and if their boss didn't get up their ass enough. You don't know what any of those things going into having this conversation are for this person or their own feelings. So trying to have a play with yourself and have a pep talk, that you're setting yourself up for failure. Just go have the conversation. Know what you know and go into it. Because trying to play it out in the beginning, you're gonna drive yourself mad because you aren't them. And every story you come up with is yours. And you aren't them.
And not only that, when you do that, what was your intention for having the conversation? If your intention of having the conversation is to really get an understanding, you're going to ask the basic question, and then you're going to listen.
Boom.
Really listen. And then process that answer. And then think before you respond, because that's how productive conversations go. If your intention at the end of that conversation, I usually have three things that I want to come out of a conversation. I want to gain the information that I think I want. I want to be heard. But at the end of the conversation, I still want both of us to leave with our dignity and feel like we're respected if it's a relationship that I want to continue. And that's the rule that's going to guide how I behave throughout the entire conversation. Because if I want the relationship to continue after that, there are things that I will not say. And there were things that I will not do because I have some value in continuing this relationship. So in any relationship, if I value the relationship, there are limits to where I'm going to go to push your buttons or to be right. If I value the relationship, I don't want to be right. I want to understand. Because if you can tell me why that certain thing bothers you the way it does, then I can understand. And then I can take some responsibility.
You're right, though. And it's so funny you said that. That's like the third time today that's come up. Do you have to be right, or is the goal to understand? Which one's more important?
Well, you can, but Dr. Phil says, do you want to be right or do you want to be happy?
Boom. Because sometimes it's not about being right. And I think that's the problem a lot of people get stuck at. Because basic human, we want to be right. We need to be right. We need to be justified, vindicated, whatever it is, for things to make sense. And sometimes it's not about being right. Sometimes you just need to sit back and it's your moment to understand and learn something. Come on, people, America.
But even the idea of needing to be right is more about wanting to be accepted only on your terms.
Ooh. Ooh.
And there are places that is necessary.
I'm listening. You're
if you are in if you have a friend that constantly criticizes you, that's a place where you need to be right, because you need to stand up for yourself. And that doesn't mean you need to yell and scream at them. Sometimes you just need to look at them and say, are we really friends? Or am I just somebody for you to beat up on and feel better about yourself? Because that's how I feel when I leave after we're together. Because on my side, all I hear is you criticizing me. I never hear you uplifting anything that I've done. I never hear you finding joy in the things that I'm trying to do and any progress that I've made. So what kind of friends are we? And that's another hard conversation. Courage is where the hard conversation comes in. You have to have the courage to have the hard conversation. And you also have to be okay with whatever the outcome is, because that's not up to you.
Oh, so profound. I swear, timing, it's a beautiful thing. This is like one of those conversations that's confirmation on some things that I've felt as well as said to a few different individuals. Courage is about, it's not just about having the courage to have the hard conversation, but being okay on the other side of it, no matter the outcome. That's where the real courage lies. Being okay no matter the outcome, because you do not have control. Wow.
No. And if what you really want is understanding and truth, and you get something that's not what you want, and you can accept it, all the better for you. So if you have the conversation, then they turn around and say, you're really popular or whatever. I've never really liked a lot of things about it. It gives you the opportunity to say, then one, why do you spend so much time with me? And two, why have you never brought it up? And they'll probably say, I didn't want to hurt your feelings, but to me, that's not having respect for me. I want to have a real, earnest relationship with people. I don't want to everybody has a lot of associates. But if I'm calling somebody a friend, and if I'm saying that I'm close and I have a relationship with somebody, and they don't feel like they can really be honest in their feelings with me, maybe not in front of 30 people, but one-on-one on our own.
Then are we friends?
Yeah, there's no value there.
Yeah, agreed.
Because unless I'm a narcissist, and I just need people around me to tell me that everything I do is great and okay, and that I'm wonderful all the time, which is kind of a whole nother level of dysfunction.
That'll be on another week's episode.
Yeah.
Not too much for today. We got places to be.
Yeah.
But some people need a yes man, but yes men don't actually fulfill anything that's real.
They actually create problems for you because they give you a false sense of your own reality. And then you go on and you extending those behaviors to other people, and you run up against people who are not going to tolerate them and don't care. And then you're always going, what's wrong with them? You. You are what's wrong with them, because you're also what's wrong with you. And until you take responsibility for you and how you're behaving toward people, you're always going to be confused, especially if you think that it's all about you and you think that you know everything. None of us knows everything. This is why we need each other. This is why we're designed to interact with one another, to look at different viewpoints. And in perfect example, it is tragic to me that families can't get together for a barbecue or Thanksgiving without having a fist fight over politics. Politics is the art of coming to agreement.
Amen. Amen.
You know, governing, as I said last week, governing is coming to an understanding of doing the best we can to find things that are going to support everyone in the best way.
I love you. This is why I love our talks.
So if you think that because I'm a Democrat, I eat little children and drink their blood, we have nothing to talk about, because that's an irrational thought. And there's nothing that I can do about that.
Yeah, there's no point in entertaining that. You're fighting an uphill losing battle in a conversation.
In all those things, just like I said, in politics, it's tragic that we can't even just allow ourselves to disagree at a certain point. And we have to disrespect each other as people to have a political discussion. I don't, and one of the things is because hard discussions need to be about substantive things.
Mm-hmm.
They need to be about how things really affect you and how they really affect me. Not my emotional response to something that I really don't know that much about that intimidates me.
Boom.
But if you can find the courage to have the hard conversation, that's an act of love. There's no way that you can love someone and not be willing to have the hard conversation. Because if you don't trust the relationship to last through that conversation, you're not in one.
You know what? There's really not much to be said after that. That's a beautiful way to end that.
I mean, if I can't come with you what's hurting me and what's really, really making me feel bad, then there's nothing else for us to talk about.
Wow. Valid. This is why I love talking to you. You spark so many different branches of thought and places of things needed to be worked on within ourselves. I love you. I love you. I'm so glad I got to talk to you today.
Oh, well, thank you.
So,
I love you too.
Any last thoughts or words of encouragement as we close out today?
My only last thought is, kindness is very important. Kindness is one of the easiest tools we walk around with. Rather than yelling at each other, taking a moment, taking a breath, and being okay with someone being upset with you, but not causing harm to another person. The song says, I won't harm you with words from my mouth. One of the greatest things we do to hurt each other is we say things that are thoughtless, heartless, and sometimes downright cruel.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no reason for it. And if you really want to kill a relationship and you want to kill somebody's perception of you, go ahead with that.
I am going to say one last thing, because you're right. People a lot of times don't realize people are dealing with scars that are not seen because they weren't physical scars. They're verbal scars. And, recently, just in the last couple months, a person that I love as a sister, and I say love because I still love her, but I cannot deal with her or speak to her right now because every part of my flesh and every part of my physical being wants to lay hands on her, as well as give her a tongue lashing for the things that she has felt that she needs to say and however she feels. That she has every right to feel how she feels. But she'll tell people I'm not speaking to her to be a bitch. No, I'm not speaking to you because I love you. Because if I say what I really want to say, you'll be an episode on the news and I won't have to touch you because you'll want to jump off the bridge when I'm done. So I'm choosing out of love not to go there, because I would rather keep you on this earth and have you around and hope that you come to your senses one day, because I actually do miss our friendship. But you little snide Facebook shit and telling parts of a story that you weren't even there for, that you might have heard as hearsay, if that's how you need to deal with however you want to deal with it, cool. If you're cool with that karma, peace be with you. I'm always here though. But don't call me unless it's really life or death. Because if I do come, I still ain't over that.
And until there's a space where you feel that you'll actually be heard and that there will be some kind of positive outcome, there's no point in having the conversation.
And that is exactly why they are on the block list. Because at this point, there is no rational conversation to be had. It's kind of like you trying to have a conversation with somebody that's made their mind up that you're a crazed demo of all lefty sides, and you can't have a conversation with that. They already have a persona, whatever, to everything you say. Yeah. It's a wall. So, and I realize this, but them keep trying to like reach out and not get an answer from me. You're going to continue to keep pissing yourself off, because I quit playing games when I was a child. So what makes you think at 36 I'm playing those games? I didn't do the he said, she said, screaming at each other in high school. I'm definitely not going to do it in my adult life. So, and people can't comprehend that don't operate that way. They immediately see the shutdown as, oh my God, me not saying nothing is a response. Grow up. That's not me not coming at you is courage, because I could lay it all bare. I could get real right. Like, you know what I mean? But not being able to see all sides is an issue that people really need to work on from within themselves. That starts at home, because everything ain't about you. And some things are for your good.
We're all very complex.
Amen.
Right. We are all very complex individuals. You know,
no one is one-dimensional. You are correct.
You know, so that's my best advice to anybody. And I really try to, when I know that I have to talk to somebody about something that they're not really probably going to receive well, is to be kind, to be quiet. And my intention is to have them leave the conversation and still have some dignity.
I love it. As that should be all of our goals. So the 3 points are:
set an intention of the conversation before you have it. And what do you want the end result at the end of the conversation, whether you agree or disagree or not? How do you want the other person to feel when they leave the conversation? That's the first thing. Realize that there's a difference in your emotional story and what the facts are. Don't act on your emotional story. We're multidimensional, and we all, you know, we learn things about each other through our relationships. If they continue, we always continue to learn things about each other that we didn't know. There are many facets, and we're meeting people in whatever chapter they're in. Okay, and they're meeting us in whatever chapter we're in. So we have to allow whatever was before on both sides to be okay, to be in the now.
Amen. Ooh, I love it. Yes. Well, I'm going to let you get back to your day. Cool. And I am going to get back to mine and get this edited and get it up today. I've been on this I've been on this get it done phase. So do you know the difference between the emotional stories and the factual stories of our lives each day? Hopefully you found some nuggets in today's Zoom and Hangout with Tim that gets you not only through the rest of your hump day, but life. And hopefully it helps make that journey a little bit easier. Remember, it might feel uncomfortable to allow space, let someone be who they are because, well, it challenges your belief system. But at the end of the day, what does it really cost you to afford them a little bit of time and grace? I'll see you next time right here on YouTube. These are the times. Erica Parrótt with another Illuminate. Never know what we are going to chat about. See you next time. Hope you enjoyed today's episode. And I just want to say thank you again to Tim for hanging out with me. These are always amazing chats. Check out the pages above for more of all types of content. Buy Me a Coffee has blogs, and they aren't censored. And you know the rest of them because you're there all the time anyways. Yep, Illuminate is back. You got 2 already this week and back to back. Wonder when the next episode will drop. Well, if you like and subscribe and hit that bell, you'll know exactly when it hits the airwaves here on YouTube. And never fear, because if they ban it, that's why I have a Buy Me a Coffee. See? I held the key to my release there.